Good evening. Before I start, I'd like to share with you all a small example about the importance of responsibility for my own life. Yesterday, I realized I had to write this entire speech. I pulled myself together for 10 hours and finished last night, sleep deprived and tired. I'm just kidding, I finished the night before. Anyways, let's start off with a raise of hands. How many of you have been told to take responsibility for your daily processes, such as work or school, or have been told to take responsibility for a loved one, such as a family member or a friend? Okay, don't worry, I have a sister. I feel so too. How many of you feel that you are responsible? And how many of you feel that teenagers are responsible? Okay, now let me introduce myself. I'm Lakshmi Hasni Gurdigu, and I'm a sophomore that goes to school here in Nashville South. A bit about me is that I've lived in a few different places, and I'm pretty involved. I'm an officer of the Astronomy Club, I'm a co-founder of a math summer tutoring program, I'm treasurer of a youth organization group, and I'm a dance teacher. So all of this means responsibility. And not to forget mentioning, I'm also a teenager. So now, back to responsibility. What does it mean? Well, these are the really basic definitions I found. The quality or state of being responsible, and the state or fact of being responsible. Very detailed, right? Let's find some more detailed ones. So this, are more better ones, that say the state or fact of having the duty to deal with something, or having to control someone. The state or fact of being accountable or to blame for something, and the opportunity or ability to act independently and make decisions without authorization. So, big fancy words. And what does any of this actually mean? Well, before I dive into this, let's take a moment to imagine your daily life. Since we're talking about teenagers, let's put this from a teenage perspective. You wake up to your alarm and get ready for school. Then maybe make yourself a nice breakfast, and maybe you have to help wake up your family members, siblings, whatever. And then you go to school where you have schoolwork, homework, projects, tests. Good and bad happen. Maybe you failed one test or passed another, because good and bad happen in a daily life. Anyways, you go home and then you do your homework, schoolwork, activities, extracurriculars, sports, name it. Or maybe you just go on your phones. In the end, you go to sleep. Now in this day, from the moment you woke up, you're responsible. You have to take accountability for what you do. So that would lead to this definition I made here. Doing what you're supposed to do independently while holding accountability and ownership over the results of the action. So when you act independently and make decisions independently, you own what you're doing. You own your actions. You're responsible. So now let's look at the different age groups within responsibility. So let's talk about adults first. There are people that make very big decisions in your life in responsibility. They, in the workplace or at home, they're the ones that are practically running everything. And now let's talk about children. Well, they're young and their minds are still adapting to this world. Their only decision making is probably whether they want a Mickey Mouse stuffed animal or a Donald Duck stuffed animal. Now, let's talk about teenagers. In this age of adolescence, we need to acknowledge that we go through tremendous change, both physically and emotionally. Although our brains have fully grown in size, they're not fully developed. One of these parts being the part behind the brain, the forehead, called the prefrontal cortex. This part of the brain is responsible for regulating actions, emotions, and other thoughts. And this is not fully developed until the age of 25. So teenagers can't be seen to take the same responsibility to that of an adult. You can't expect a 5-year-old child to do your taxes. So now that I talked about responsibility, what are the ways to become responsible? What are the methods? Well, these are the 5 that I found. Take care of yourself and others, maturity and understanding, overcoming procrastination, being persistent, and making yourself happy for the right reasons. Let's dive into this a bit more. Taking care of yourself and others. This doesn't mean wrapping yourself in a blanket and going to bed all day, but to pay attention to the little things you do. Pay attention to what you do and how you do them. Simple things such as making your bed and keeping things where they belong ensures that you take this responsibility. Helping people without being asked. The next one is maturity and understanding. Responsibility doesn't mean that everything will go right. Sometimes things go wrong. And owning up to this and understanding and accepting this shows that you're responsible. The next one I personally struggle with a lot, overcoming procrastination. If you have a math test, don't study the night before. Spread out your study schedule over a course of days. Basically, be mindful of the excuses you make and be reasonable in what you do. The next one is being persistent. Be determined and firm in what you do, and don't give up. Keep going, because the end goal has a lot of benefits. An example being of crossing guards. They wake up every day and help children cross the road, pretty much guarding them with their own life. They come up every day, and although we don't acknowledge them, the children do. And last but not least, making yourself happy for the right reasons. When you do something you enjoy doing, you'll want to do more of it. And this leads to more work, more responsibility, in a more enjoyable manner. Basically, enjoy what you do. An example from my own life being how I began to dance. Initially, I began taking lessons and classes, and that developed into a passion in which I started teaching little kids how to dance. And that responsibility took me a long way to starting my own dance team in this very school. So I've been talking about responsibility for a while now, and why responsibility? Why is it essential? Why am I still talking about this? Well, responsibility gives a sense of purpose in one's life. It helps people develop and evolve. Responsibility without responsibility, you may be able to do whatever you wanted, but there will be no purpose. It will lack life meaning. If you're not responsible, you may have some spurts of happiness, however that will all be momentary. Responsibility ensures a more permanent happiness. It leads to a better quality of life, a more fulfilled one. Now, I don't expect this speech to be life-changing for any of you, but I hope it gave you an idea about the role responsibility plays in your life. With enough being said, I'd like to end this talk with a quote by Abraham Lincoln. You cannot escape the responsibility of tomorrow by evading it today.